And I got, like food. So I don't know why, in some fit of inspiration, I totted up to you and said,
Camilla Parker Bowles never imagined her son's bedroom would become the center of a royal mystery. What began as a harmless scan using advanced AI technology turned into a discovery so shocking it left the entire royal household in tears. Behind an ordinary wall, hidden memories long buried were brought back to life. Echoes of heartbreak, scandal, and secrets tied to the crown itself. So, what exactly did the AI uncover that left the royals shaken? Stay tuned as we reveal the discovery that changed everything. The renovation that stirred the dust. It started with nothing more dramatic than the faint hum of power tools and the scent of fresh paint. The countryside mansion, one of Queen Camilla's lesser-known estates, had long stood as a quiet refuge from royal formality, a retreat she and her son, Tom Parker Bowles, often used to escape the noise of London. After years of slow decay, Tom finally approved a full renovation of the West Wing, including his own suite, a project meant to modernize the old property without disturbing its historic soul. The team of restorers, architects, and craftsmen arrived with digital blueprints, old maps of the house, and strict instructions from the royal estate manager. Preserve the charm. Update the function. For weeks, the work progressed seamlessly, peeling wallpaper, replacing damp beams, restoring hand-carved cornices. Nothing suggested that this house, wrapped in ivy and tradition, hid anything more than dust and echoes. Then came the anomaly. It was a typical late afternoon. Light filtered through dusty curtains as two workers began removing old plaster near the fireplace in Tom's bedroom, a space lined with vintage books, a heavy oak desk, and portraits of the estate in earlier centuries. When the plaster cracked, a muffled thud echoed differently from the rest of the wall. It was subtle, too hollow for solid stone, too deep for pipes or wiring. The foreman frowned and tapped the section again. The sound was wrong. He checked the digital renovation plans on his tablet and compared them with the original blueprints stored in the royal archives. There was no record of any cavity, recess, or built-in structure behind that wall. The original drawings from 1894 showed a solid stone foundation. Whatever was hidden, there didn't belong. At first, no one wanted to make a fuss. Old houses were full of quirks, uneven plaster, long-forgotten repairs, or gaps between layers. But curiosity gnawed at them. One of the junior contractors suggested scanning the wall with a portable density reader, a handheld tool designed to detect voids and metal fragments. The result flashed red, an anomaly detected. The team went quiet. They repeated the scan twice more, and the same irregular pattern appeared, something metallic embedded deep within the structure. When the foreman struck the wall again, the hollow note was undeniable. Word quickly reached the site supervisor, who decided to halt all work in that section until further notice. Photographs were taken, the coordinates of the wall recorded, and a short report drafted for the estate's chief inspector. In royal renovations, even a misplaced nail required clearance. But this was different. This wasn't a structural issue. It was a mystery. The day ended with quiet unease. The crew packed up their tools, leaving the bedroom eerily silent, the air heavy with plaster dust. None of them could shake the feeling that the wall was more than just a wall, that it was guarding something meant to stay unseen. But what secret was truly waiting in the shadows? Keep watching. What comes next will shock you. The AI scan that changed everything. By the next morning, the strange readings from the bedroom wall had drawn the attention of both the renovation foreman and the estate's internal safety officer. Curiosity, at first, had been lighthearted, the kind that comes with finding something unexpected in an old house. But as the morning wore on, that curiosity turned into a measured sort of concern. There were, after all, protocols when dealing with any royal property. Every nail, every beam, every hidden space had to be documented, photographed, and reported before being disturbed. To remove all doubt, the site supervisor ordered a structural analysis. Within hours, A digital imaging team from London arrived with an AI-enhanced LiDAR scanner, technology usually reserved for archaeology, not private homes. When activated, a soft blue light swept across the wall, mapping hidden structures in real time. Moments later, the operator froze. On the monitor appeared a perfectly rectangular cavity, 2 feet wide and 1 foot deep, sealed within the stone. Its symmetry was uncanny, too precise to be a construction flaw, too intentional to ignore. Then came something even stranger. Within the void, the AI detected faint reflective patterns consistent with metallic surfaces and leather-bound materials. It was as if something man-made, a container perhaps, had been hidden there intentionally. A wave of unease passed through the room. The foreman called for an immediate pause in work, and photographs of the scan were forwarded to the estate's management office. By afternoon, the case had escalated beyond the construction team's authority. The report reached the Royal Property Division, and soon after, a quiet call was made to a contact at Clarence House. Permission came faster than anyone expected. Proceed under controlled supervision. The directive read, "Document everything. Do not disturb the contents." By evening, a small team gathered in the bedroom. 2 contractors, a preservation officer, and a palace security representative. Cameras rolled, gloves on, every move documented. As the plaster gave way, a hidden compartment emerged, exhaling cold, stale air thick with age and decay. Inside lay a small leather-bound box, its hinges corroded, corners frayed, and a faded silk ribbon still tied around it, as though someone long ago wanted its secrets forever sealed away. No one spoke for several seconds. The silence was heavy, reverent even. The preservation officer reached out, hands trembling slightly, and lifted the box from its cradle of stone. It was lighter than expected, but something shifted inside when moved. The muffled slide of papers or photographs. The team documented every angle, sealed the box in a clear evidence container, and labeled it for immediate transfer. Security personnel escorted it out of the room, their radios crackling softly as they confirmed delivery to the Royal Investigation Unit. When the door finally closed behind them, the workers stood in uneasy stillness. None of them could explain why they felt what they felt, only that whatever they had unearthed was not meant to see daylight again. Outside, the evening wind swept across the mansion's gardens. Inside, one wall now stood bare, its secret exposed. What none of them yet realized was that this quiet act of curiosity had already set off a chain reaction, one that would ripple far beyond the walls of that bedroom and reach the very heart of the monarchy itself. But what exactly lay inside that weathered box that demanded such secrecy? Keep watching to find out. The box that froze the room. By the following morning, the small leather-bound box had been transferred under full security escort to the Royal Investigation Unit, a discreet department accustomed to handling everything from misplaced heirlooms to sensitive correspondence. But even for them, this case carried an unsettling weight. The paperwork attached to the sealed container was marked urgent, confidential, for palace review only. Inside a temperature-controlled chamber, the investigators began their careful work. White gloves, precision tools, and sterile lighting filled the room. When the corroded hinges were eased open, a faint, musty breath escaped, as though time itself exhaled from within. What emerged silenced the room completely. Neatly arranged inside were dozens of folded letters, each sealed with wax now brittle with age. Beneath them lay a small stack of photographs, faded but still clear enough to reveal familiar faces. At the bottom rested a leather-bound diary, its edges worn smooth by handling, its cover embossed with a discreet gold monogram. D.S. Diana Spencer. For a long moment, no one moved. The chief investigator glanced at the pages through magnified lenses. The handwriting, elegant loops, delicate curves, the faint rightward tilt, was unmistakable. It was hers. The silence thickened as realization settled in. One junior officer whispered, "It can't be," but the evidence spoke louder than disbelief. These were Princess Diana's personal writings, hidden for decades in a wall that should never have held them. The lead investigator immediately contacted palace administration, requesting a private briefing with Queen Camilla. The discovery was too sensitive to pass through normal channels. Within hours, a quiet motorcade brought Camilla and her son, Tom Parker Bowles, to the estate. When Tom entered the study where the box had been laid out, his expression changed from curiosity to horror. The investigator explained where the item had been found: inside his bedroom wall, behind layers of sealed plaster. Tom's voice faltered. "In my room?" he asked, barely above a whisper. His mother, visibly pale, remained silent, her gloved hands trembling as she stared at the diary. One nervous officer, unable to restrain himself, muttered to a colleague, "Why here? Why are her words in this house?" It was a question no one dared answer. The mood in the room shifted instantly, from intrigue to dread. This was no deliberate preservation, no planned archive. The hurried wrapping, the deteriorating ribbon, the sealed cavity, it all spoke of desperation. Whoever placed the box there had done so in haste, as though fleeing the moment it was hidden. For the workers who had uncovered it and the investigators who opened it, the realization felt almost sacrilegious. They hadn't just found a forgotten relic. They had disturbed a voice long buried. A voice that, once again, refused to stay silent. But the real question was, whose hands had hidden it there? And why, after all these years? Stay tuned to uncover the truth. Technology doesn't lie. Within hours of the box's discovery, the investigation shifted from secrecy to science. The same AI scanning system that had found the hidden cavity was now repurposed for a far more delicate task: forensic dating. Technicians carefully photographed each page, feeding the images into a specialized algorithm capable of reading more than words. It could analyze ink composition, fiber decay, and microscopic oxidation to determine when the paper was written and how long it had been sealed away. The results left the room breathless. Every data point aligned with one chilling conclusion. The writings dated back to the late 1990s, precisely during the final years of Princess Diana's life. There was no forgery, no mistake. The AI's certainty was absolute. That confirmation changed everything. What had started as a structural anomaly was now a historical revelation, one that touched the deepest nerves of the British monarchy. The digital forensics team compared the handwriting to known letters archived at Kensington Palace, using pattern-matching algorithms to verify strokes, loops, and spacing. The system returned a perfect match: Diana Spencer, Princess of Wales. But the real shock came when the content was reviewed. Her diary, preserved through time, carried words that seemed to echo from another world. She wrote of loneliness in gilded halls, of betrayal behind smiles, and of her desperate attempts to preserve her humanity under the weight of crown and expectation. She described dreams for her sons, of them growing free, unbound by tradition, able to choose love over duty. Some passages were heartbreakingly candid. She wrote of feeling silenced by the noise of power and watched by eyes that never sleep. In others, she hinted at plans to hide certain documents, to keep the truth safe, far from those who rewrite it. For those reading, the tone was unmistakable: a woman aware of danger, desperate to have her words survive. News of the discovery inevitably slipped beyond palace walls. A whisper turned into a murmur, then into a quiet storm as reporters picked up fragments from anonymous sources. Forensic experts, citing unnamed palace contacts, began to confirm what many feared. The handwriting, the phrasing, the emotional cadence all pointed to Diana herself. Inside the royal household, the revelation struck like lightning. Queen Camilla reportedly withdrew from public view, her silence interpreted as shock. And for Tom Parker Bowles, the guilt was unbearable. The box had been uncovered inside his own bedroom wall, as if fate had chosen his home to expose the truth his family wished to forget. Technology, indifferent and precise, had spoken, and in doing so, reopened wounds that time had only ever managed to cover, never heal. But the AI storm was only just beginning to gather. What followed would push the monarchy into uncharted territory. Stay tuned. The Palace in Panic. The revelation struck the royal household like an earthquake. Within hours of the forensic confirmation, Clarence House and Buckingham Palace descended into controlled chaos. Senior aides were summoned from their homes in the middle of the night. Red phones rang in quiet corridors that had not heard such urgency in years. By dawn, emergency meetings were underway. Every official, from communications directors to legal advisors, gathered around polished oak tables, their expressions drawn and pale. No one could agree on what to do. The contents of the recovered diary were too personal, too volatile to ignore. The very idea that Princess Diana's private writings had resurfaced, and that they had been hidden inside Queen Camilla's son's bedroom wall, felt almost like divine irony, a cruel twist of fate the palace could not explain or spin. Behind closed doors, Camilla reportedly wept, shaken by the weight of what the world might think. For decades, she had fought to move past the shadow of Diana's memory, to be seen as a partner to the king, not the woman who once stood between another marriage. Now that ghost had returned in ink and paper, ready to reopen old wounds in front of an unforgiving public. King Charles, equally rattled but resolute, took immediate action. He instructed the royal archivist to locate and secure every known fragment of Diana's correspondence, letters, notes, anything bearing her handwriting. If a single word from the hidden trunk leaked, he wanted to be prepared to counter or contain it. Inside the palace, the atmosphere thickened with tension. Whispered debates echoed in corridors that had once hosted coronations and jubilees. Aides asked the same questions no one wanted to answer aloud. Should the letters be destroyed to protect the family, locked away indefinitely, or should they confront the truth and release them, whatever the consequence? When Tom Parker Bowles arrived, he brought the leather box himself, carrying it like a confession. He placed it on the long conference table as silence fell. Eyes darted toward it, not as an object, but as a symbol of everything fragile about royal history. Two factions quickly emerged. One sworn to protect the monarchy's reputation, the other urging honesty, arguing that suppression would only worsen the inevitable. For centuries, silence had been the monarchy's armor. But now, that silence trembled, thin, fragile, and moments away from shattering under the weight of revelation. But beyond those palace walls, another reckoning between two brothers was already unfolding, one that no protocol could contain. Stay tuned to see how it erupts. William and Harry, the divide deepens. When the news of the discovery reached Prince William and Prince Harry, the brothers were thousands of miles apart, yet the shock hit them with the same force. Both received the same confidential briefing. A sealed box had been found, hidden inside the wall of Queen Camilla's son's bedroom, containing their late mother's handwritten letters and diaries. The report ended with a quiet line that neither could ignore. Confirmed. The writing is authentic. For a brief moment they shared silence. Then came disagreement. William, ever the protector of image and duty, reacted first. He demanded the documents be sealed indefinitely, their contents reviewed privately and never released. She deserves peace, he reportedly told an aide. Her words were private, not a spectacle. For William, the monarchy's survival rested on restraint, controlling narratives before they consumed the crown. The thought of his mother's innermost thoughts being dissected by the press felt like reopening a wound that had barely healed. Harry, hearing the same words from California, had the opposite reaction. To him, the letters were not a threat. They were his mother's voice, breaking through decades of suppression. She was silenced when she was alive, he said. Are we going to silence her again in death? He saw in those pages a chance to reclaim her truth, not as filtered history, but as unvarnished emotion. When the brothers finally spoke over a private call, the conversation began politely, but quickly grew heavy. It wasn't about fame or politics. It was about who truly understood Diana's pain, and who had the right to decide how her memory should live on. William feared chaos. Harry feared censorship. The distance between them, both emotional and physical, widened with every word. Their advisors tried to mediate, but the issue was too personal, too raw. For William, the monarchy had always been about preservation. For Harry, it had become a cage his mother had tried to escape. By the end of the exchange, neither had changed the other's mind. The letters, once hidden behind a wall, had now become a mirror, reflecting two sons shaped by the same loss but divided by what it taught them. And for the first time, the question of who Diana truly belonged to hung in the air, unanswered, echoing louder than ever. But just as tensions between the brothers reached their peak, a new threat emerged, one that could make all their efforts to control the story irrelevant. Keep watching. The AI that knows too much. Just when the palace believed it had finally contained the situation, technology turned against them. What began as a quiet internal investigation was suddenly on the verge of spiraling beyond royal control. The very tool that had unearthed the hidden chamber, the AI scanning system, was now threatening to expose everything they were trying so desperately to hide. In an unanticipated move, the tech company responsible for the scan released a statement clarifying its data policy. The AI system, they explained, automatically stored all scan results in encrypted cloud servers to ensure the preservation of historical data. That meant every pulse, every scan, every image of the wall and its contents, including the leather box and the documents inside, had already been uploaded, replicated, and preserved in digital form. Even if the palace locked away the physical box, the evidence was already immortalized in the cloud. The statement was clinical and technical, but its implications were devastating. It meant that somewhere in the company's database existed a full 3D reconstruction of Tom Parker Bowles' bedroom wall and the secret chamber behind it. Digital forensic experts now had access to an unalterable, time-stamped record of the very moment the box was uncovered. Inside the palace, panic set in once more. Lawyers were dispatched to contact the tech firm, demanding immediate deletion of all related data. But corporate representatives, bound by policy and international cybersecurity regulations, refused. "We cannot delete historical data tied to an ongoing investigation," one spokesperson reportedly said. "That would violate preservation protocols." The monarchy suddenly found itself fighting a new kind of adversary. Not the press, not public opinion, but the permanence of information itself. Unlike gossip, data could not be silenced, bribed, or rewritten. It lived in encrypted servers, mirrored across continents, beyond any royal decree. Behind closed doors, senior aides debated whether to issue an injunction or to cooperate quietly with the company. Some urged compliance, fearing that confrontation would draw more media attention. Others argued that digital evidence, once known to exist, would eventually leak, no matter how tightly controlled. Meanwhile, whispers began to surface online. Anonymous tech enthusiasts claimed fragments of the 3D scans had been intercepted through secondary servers. Posts appeared on dark web forums describing a chamber with hidden pages and royal seals. Though unverifiable, the rumors grew rapidly, feeding a storm that even official silence could not calm. For centuries, the monarchy's greatest strength had been control over image, narrative, and truth. But this time, they faced an enemy immune to secrecy. The AI that had uncovered the past was now guarding it, silently, indefinitely, in a digital vault no crown could command. The leak that shattered the calm. It began not with an official announcement, but with a single screenshot, a low-resolution image quietly uploaded to an obscure online forum. The picture was grainy, its details barely visible, Yet what it showed was unmistakable. The leather-bound box, half open, with several handwritten pages tucked inside plastic sleeves. One line stood out in shaky clarity. "I fear for my boys. The crown will change them." That one sentence was enough to ignite a global firestorm. Within hours, the image spread across social media platforms, jumping from anonymous posts to major news feeds. Hashtags mentioning Princess Diana, Camilla, and the royal letters began trending simultaneously in London, New York, and Sydney. Journalists scrambled for sources while online users began dissecting the image like forensic experts, zooming in, comparing ink shades, and matching handwriting samples to archived Diana letters from the 1990s. Then came the wave of AI-generated reconstructions. Dozens of digital creators fed the leaked text into handwriting replication software, producing eerily realistic pages. Some appeared heartbreakingly genuine, capturing Diana's voice and rhythm perfectly. Others were pure fiction, crafted by algorithms and imagination. The internet, unstoppable and unforgiving, no longer cared which was which. The boundary between truth and fabrication dissolved in a blur of pixels and passion. By the end of the first day, millions had read what they believed were Diana's private words, confessions of loneliness, fears for her sons, and hints of betrayal within palace walls. Each line, real or not, deepened the frenzy. Inside Buckingham Palace, chaos met silence. Senior aides urged immediate damage control, but King Charles refused to respond publicly. "No comment" became the palace's only statement. But in the digital world, silence became oxygen for speculation. Every minute of inaction allowed new theories to bloom. Had the palace known about the letters all along? Had they tried to bury them? And why had they been found in Camilla's son's bedroom wall? Tabloids went into overdrive. News anchors dissected every rumor. Experts debated authenticity, and AI deepfakes flooded timelines faster than fact-checkers could react. The monarchy, built on centuries of control and secrecy, was suddenly battling the uncontrollable, a viral truth, multiplied by algorithms and emotion. As the online storm raged on, the royal household's carefully crafted image began to crack. The crown had survived wars, abdications, and scandals. But now it faced an adversary unlike any before. A machine-powered echo of Diana's voice, impossible to silence, unstoppable once unleashed. In the chaos of code and controversy, one chilling realization settled over the palace. History had escaped their grasp, rewritten not by scribes or journalists, but by the boundless reach of artificial intelligence. The voice that refused to die. Days after the storm began, the royal family convened in private. The mood inside Windsor's drawing room was somber, the air thick with unspoken guilt. For the first time in years, Prince William and Prince Harry sat across from each other without cameras, advisors, or protocol. Just two sons facing the ghost of their mother. On the table lay copies of her recovered letters, their ink faded, but the emotion unmistakably alive. They read in silence, her fears, her loneliness, her love for them both. At times, William's eyes closed, as if the words were too heavy to absorb. Harry, unable to stay still, clenched his fists to hold back tears. By the end, they agreed on one thing: her words could not remain buried. Whether the palace liked it or not, the truth had already escaped, and their mother's voice had returned, not as scandal, but as testimony. Tom Parker Bowles formally handed the original box to the Royal Archives, fulfilling the procedure. But everyone knew it was symbolic. The files, the scans, the leaks had already scattered across the digital ether. There was no putting the genie back. In a rare moment of vulnerability, Queen Camilla broke down, caught between remorse and release. The AI meant to map a wall had exposed far more. A legacy, a reckoning, a mirror. And though the wall could be repaired, the truth it revealed now lived forever, beyond reach, beyond control. But what do you think? Was the royal family right to keep the discovery hidden, or should the world know the truth? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.